Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your favourite studio build series, which no one seems to care about. We're here in Chinatown. Now, I'm sort of kidding here, but of course, we're back again doing some Chinatown builds, which is one of my least popular series on the channel, but as I said, I will finish it because that's what we do here. Today, we're going to be working on the sushi restaurant ground floor, which is the green building that I talked about in last week's episode, and this one's got some really interesting wall techniques, which you'll see me work along in a second. Of course, like most of these episodes, I started with a bit of housekeeping, and I cleaned up the pavement on this side, as this is our modern street side. For those of you new to the series, we're making a Chinatown out of Lego and integrating a lot of the Far Eastern style sets into this build. Of course, first up we did the Chinese New Year Temple Fair, but today we're going to be working more on the city side street, as the Chinatown is supposed to be sort of like a, well, not quite a secret, but a little nook and cranny of the city that then is normal from the outside. Or I shouldn't really say normal, I should just say like normal, like America English city style. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Of course, the interior though is going to be fairly themed, which is going to be a Chinese restaurant, and what you can see me doing is just playing off the sand green and brown color scheme from the inside of the set. One thing I knew I wanted to do about this building was introduce a light aqua element, which is what you'll see me fiddling with now. I'm trying to find some pieces that actually exist in light aqua, and I'm pretty sure that Studio isn't actually up to date when it comes to telling me what is and isn't in light aqua. And what you're seeing is me obviously trying a lot of different arches in light aqua to attempt to get the color that I want. And in the end, we settled with the normal 1x6 archway, which we're going to turn sideways, and you're going to see me faff around with this technique and try and make it look good for the duration of today's video. I think we'll take these Chinatown videos just a bit calmer, really, just a bit slower, and just work on the project week by week. I hope this isn't something that people actively hate, but you're going to see it get finished at some point, so I hope you stick around for the ride. So obviously, the initial methods of attaching stuff sideways did not seem to work, and I'm dealing with a very limited space because this window absolutely has to go here. So naturally, the next step is to go and use sideways bricks on the floor, which of course then you can see that the light aqua creates a really nice color contrast, and I was definitely right to pursue it as a color combo to use in this MOC. Of course, we've also got to do the tiling and the walling and stuff like that just to get it all nice and built up, and this is definitely going to be a bit of a weird building to look at from street view level. One thing I'm also playing with is how I'm going to then attach this sideways so that it actually fits on the ground, and my initial approach didn't work. I was trying to make the inside of the window studless, but that's just not going to happen, so we'll be going back to a stud in a normal approach in just a minute. Here we go, we're adding the normal brick right back in, and it's going to have a stud, but that's just the way it's going to be. Okay, so next we're going to go and progress along the window. You can see that I just fully embraced the stud approach on the bottom, and we're using an inverted aqua pillar on the top. The recent release of the Frozen Ice Castle set was particularly helpful with doing this building just because of how many new light aqua colored pieces, or just light aqua pieces, it included in general. One other quick modification I'm making to the window is obviously how symmetrical it's going to be, which is also a fairly difficult one to line up, and I obviously wanted to align it with the other window piece so that it would be attached and actually be strong. However, the window pretty much said no to this, so I wouldn't be surprised if this build would actually be pretty flimsy in real life, although I did try, so maybe we'll see a success in a minute. Either way, we're just trying to fill the middle gap now on the top of the window, which I'm going to use by sticking a bar through them, and I thought I'd try and make a little bit of a feature out of this center window piece, which you're going to see me now do using one of my favorite elements, the 1x2 rounded brick with 2 holes and stud plate thing, and we're also going to add a little bit of decoration to the center window, which I think came out pretty well. Next up, it's attaching that window properly and continuing the wall up, and what I've realised but won't fix for a while is that this side here is pretty small. Compared to our other ground floors of all of the other buildings, it only goes up about just over a half above everything else, so I'll definitely be stacking these windows again in the future. But for now, it's on to tessellation. And I think the easiest way to do this was firstly to sort out the middle and work out how symmetrical it's going to be, copy over a large chunk, delete everything that wasn't necessary, then copy mirror and put in. Well, first, I just wanted to fix the little tilings beneath everything that we were doing, and then it's time to mirror, come over and place. In it goes, and delete the other one, and we've got a fully symmetrical light aqua ground floor. I'm really not sure how I'm going to link the light aqua upper floors in. However, I do know that up above I want a giganto curved window that stretches across most of the floor. So hopefully that will be fairly nice and easy to implement. Maybe the second floor will be small, but up above this sushi restaurant we're going to have a spa. So I wanted this building to look really nice and clean and work really well. Currently, I'm working on the ground floor entrance, which is a fairly large and diagonal building. Diagonal building is never as easy as it looks, and that's definitely coming across here with how I had to do the tiling to make it work. However, we're filling in those last gaps, and you can see I've thickened up the wall above the windows before starting to close in the gap on that diagonal, because obviously we've got to get a door in there. I'm thinking double doors at the moment, but first we've got to get the other side of this plinth in so it actually looks good. You can see that that's not quite doing it for me, so I'm going to have to go and find a bigger piece. And in the end, once again, I settled for the corner sloped kind of deal. Yep, there we go, with a 1x4 and the slightly more curved, and that sort of creates a 45-degree angle all the way across, especially when we consider using these triangle tiles, which are some of my favorites, and the modified corners. And then we're going to just tile that over and then get ready for a door. I've left a gap in the corner so that we can add an actual door frame, and I'm going to try and make use of the fact that our windows are sideways to build the doors that way. You can see I'm adding clips slotways, and I think that was probably the easiest way to do a door on here. I'm going to choose a 45-degree offset angle, obviously, to go halfway across, and I'm really hoping that our doors don't have a big gap in them. I'm going to go for 3 wide doors. I think that's probably our best bet, and you can see here that I'm trying to mirror things, but sometimes Studio just says no. You can also probably tell by this point we are going to have a gap in our door, and I'm just testing to make sure that the doors do open at least enough for my liking. Next up, I want to try and hide the gaps, which is what I'm doing here using these grill plates, and unfortunately they don't come in light aqua. So immediately I went back to just preferring the gaps over everything, although I will try a couple of other bits in the middle. I'm going to go for some large transparent portions and no handles on these doors. You can almost see these as automatic push doors. We also have some sand green and grey hidden in the middle because there was no other option. And I've also just tiled over the small bits, and we've managed to get some light aqua rail plates, another one of my favourite pieces, to hide the hinges almost perfectly. Next up, we're going to fiddle around with the awning above, because obviously that's fairly indented for a door, and I'm definitely going to have to get this one fixed for next week because this didn't work. I think what will end up happening is I'll build it up just a bit higher, and I'll just put a big corner plate because obviously they're still on grid, as I like to call it, and therefore I'll be able to get a nice clean look over the front of there, and I can build some archways down or something, but that's a problem for next week. I wanted to also work a little bit on the interior before we're done, but you'll see in a minute that I don't get too far. Okay, so that's a fairly good exterior done. It's time to fill in the other side of the wall back using the sand green again. It's sort of hard to tell the difference between the sand green and light aqua, but I think it's definitely enough of a contrast to work, but also look good. And I'm really excited to see how a full light aqua building with just white accents works as we go up this one. However, unlike my other buildings, I will be working on this one fairly consistently. However, I do want to get the interior sorted before we actually go up a level. So naturally, before it comes to tiling, we're going to have to work out what's going in this restaurant. So as I said, this is a sushi restaurant, so of course we're going to have the conveyor belt, and this is where I'm going to run into most of my problems. I can easily get the 45-degree conveyor belt to work nicely, and I can easily have space for both my kitchen and my booths that I want. However, unlike the other sushi restaurants that I was looking at for reference imagery, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the conveyor belt that people actually like sit at, because in most sushi restaurants and even in Ninjago City, you sit around the outside of the conveyor belt and it goes past you and you take off it, whereas this is a bit more like a buffet, I guess, where you go up to the counter and do it. I'm going to have a fiddle with it in between weeks and see if I can come up with a better way, but this is what I've got for now. The problem being with this MOC is obviously that the doors are both in the middle of the room, meaning that any conveyor belt I do needs to be navigatable, which is obviously a large problem. One thing that I may be able to do is just make a big block conveyor belt, but again, I'll fiddle with that in between. Next thing I tried was obviously making the conveyor belt be like the work units around the back, so it was sort of like a triangle conveyor belt that then people could sit along the front, but then also go and sit at booths, and just giving them more options. But again, you're going to see that that didn't particularly work very well, as I couldn't get a nice flush angle, so I sort of gave up and left it here. That's pretty much where we're going to leave this video, with me adding the second layer of windows, just so that I'm ready to experiment with how that's going to work, and then once again getting stumped by that floor. So let's quickly go over to Studio, and I'll show you this build nice and close up. So here we are in Studio at the back end of our Chinatown restaurant, and I really do love how this street angle is coming out, and that's why I'm trying to push this light aqua building so that we can get up to that second floor and get some nice detail work done. Okay, so here is what we worked on today. It doesn't look too impressive, but the development time on this one was really painful. I'm very much aware that we have this building to go back to, and trust me, it's almost next on my agenda, but these things take a while, so bear with me on that front. Okay, so over here we also have the building which we worked on today. Let's zoom in on that. You can see very clearly now that the sand green walls are on these three sides, and then you've got the light aqua front. Definitely think we need to add some white aqua, some white highlights in, so the chances are we might see some white plates running up along the inside of the door frame, some white here, and I definitely think that the floors in this set are going to be white. Obviously, the floor is still not tiled, and currently my best bet is that the conveyor belt will probably go like this, although there is a chance we could do like a big square kind of like thing where when you come in you go over here, there's like some booths and stuff, and then you sit around where I'm kind of pointing the cursor now, and then you've got the kitchen on this side. However, it's sort of awkward to know whether that will work or not, so we'll just leave that one up to judgment for now. I mean, maybe one of the entrances is actually a staff entrance or something, or maybe they both link in the same way, like if you immediately corridor this off here, that would probably work quite nicely, but we'll see. I'll work on it in between episodes, and by the time you see the next Chinatown, we'll get this interior and this interior done and get up to the second floor. So next week should be a real big one. Sorry there's not much progress this time. I know the series isn't particularly popular, but quite busy at the moment getting Wave 3 finished and sorted. But either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Consider subscribing if you like this or if you like my other stuff, because I assure you that's probably better. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.